This week I was asked to draw a insect-based monster, and it just didn't work out. I drew probably about 5 or 6 different silhouettes. The last one was probably the closest one that felt like it should work. But as soon as I started drawing on top of the silhouette, I could tell right away that it wasn't. Just wasn't feeling it. And I felt like I was drawing a monster from Power Rangers or from the 1990s era TV show Big Bad Beetleborgs. And maybe it's because I just don't draw a lot of insects very often. And I could try a couple different variations. But ultimately I didn't like anything I drew. Just didn't feel like it worked. Part of it's because of the shape language wasn't there for this. I felt like I was just trying to put this little puzzle together and focusing too much on the small pieces instead of the overall design of it. So it didn't work out. I will go back and try again next week. See if I can get this thing to work better. So after trying to get this thing to look good, I got frustrated and pulled up one of the older silhouettes and just started drawing whatever I felt like drawing at the time. And this thing turned out like 10 times better than anything I was drawing previously. Though I will say that I started out first trying to make it into an insect because I wanted to keep with that theme. So I was like, here's this kind of rhino beetle like head shape, and it's got this big hulky barbarian like body and torso, and it's got wings sticking out the back. And that didn't feel too bad, but ultimately it just didn't look right to me. I wasn't really happy with it. And I mean, that's kind of partially why I do these, though. Doodles are an excellent way to get ideas out there. A good way for you to get all the bad drawings out. And that's kind of how I feel about this week's first hour of doodling. It was just a lot of bad designs, with some good design in there, but mostly bad, being thrown down onto the drawing surface. It's really frustrating for everybody, I'm sure, whenever this happens. You're trying to get this idea out there and it just isn't working. So even with this one, I just hated it and started over with the same silhouette though, and just kind of drew whatever I wanted to draw. Let that shape kind of dictate what I should draw instead of what I wanted to draw. and you'll see that it ultimately ends up working out really well. Though I spent a lot of time on this week's monster doodle, way more time than I normally spend. But ultimately, I'm happy with what came out of it. And it's kind of funny, like without doing this monster doodle, I probably wouldn't have imagined this creature on my own. You know, like straight out of the top of my head. It took trying to figure out what this shape was trying to say for me to discover this creature. I'm thinking about doing more of these little arachnid people as well. I think they would be pretty interesting to do like a series of them. I think my favorite part about this guy is his head, though. So every week on Monday, I set up a time to stream, to do one of these, and I stream it on Twitch. And this week, I had posted that, you know, if anybody had time and wanted to hang out on Twitch with me while I drew these, you know, we talk about role playing games in general. Like, it didn't have to be necessarily about Dungeons and Dragons. I actually have very little experience with Dungeons and Dragons until more recently. I've always played various other role-playing game systems myself, and prefer most other game systems over the better known Dungeons and Dragons. Though my current game is a 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons game. But yeah, that's my plan for every week is to stream me drawing one of these doodles, and hoping that somebody will, or several somebodies will pop into the chat on Twitch and hang out, and we'll talk about stuff. I think talking about role playing games while somebody's drawing seems more entertaining than just watching somebody draw something for an hour or two. It seems like it'd be super boring to a certain degree. I mean, there's a lot you can learn from somebody watching them how they draw something, but like, you know, this first hour was me really struggling with trying to get like some kind of insect-like creature out, and I felt like that would probably been the boring part to watch. With this guy, it took a while to figure out what kind of color palette worked for him, and even when I got done, I felt like this purple was a little too dark. So you'll see here at the end that I went back later and recolored them and cleaned the color job up a lot more, so he looks a lot better. And you can also tell that like his couple of his arm-like appendages are supposed to be like swords, and that way. So he's got this shield-like piece here, and he's got the sword arms. Yeah. So he's pretty neat. But yeah, that was this week's. Yeah, this is this week's Monster Doodle. I hope you enjoy it. I think the guys over at Monster Day are gonna write up stats for this one as well. When they do, I will put up the link up on Twitter and attach it to this video as well. And like always, you can follow me on Twitter. You can check out more of my stuff on Behance.net. And I plan to do more of these, of course, in the future every week on Mondays. I'll try to post on Twitter like what time I plan to do it on Monday. That way, if you want to drop in and hang out, you can do that. So thanks again for watching, and I look forward to next week.